Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to episode number 994 of NoDQ Video, right here on NoDQ.com. Only 6 more to go until episode 1000. Thank you guys for your continued support and spreading the word and checking out the full video here on NoDQ.com. I got your questions as we get closer to August 16th, which is, of course, episode number 1000, coming up very soon, about a week and a half. And I still got 6 more episodes, including this one. Stay tuned. A lot more content coming in the next week and a half. Let's get started with your questions. First one today comes from Sohail. What is going on with Dolph Ziggler and how would you book him right now? And you have road to 100. I think you meant 1000. Maybe your Twitter limit was reached. I'm not sure. But regarding Dolph Ziggler, a lot of people wondering what is going on with him. It's been about a month now since he has appeared on WWE television. No storyline for SummerSlam. He hasn't even been on TV, whether it's in the ring or backstage segments. It seems like he has gotten lost in the shuffle. WWE doesn't have a role for him for SummerSlam, so they're just leaving him off television. He has been posting a lot of political tweets, and that's not something that WWE is thrilled about. WWE doesn't want wrestlers going into politics on social media because it just stirs up a lot of drama. A lot of speculation about Dolph Ziggler right now. There was that YouTube star that got stuck up on a date by Ziggler, apparently, according to her. And she said that he was on his way out of WWE. And then Nakamura on Talking Smack before it was canceled, maybe this is one of the reasons why it was canceled, Nakamura said something about Ziggler going to Japan possibly soon. And Renee Young was talking about how this was breaking news. And the whole thing was really awkward. And it's funny, a few weeks after that happened, Talking Smack was canceled. That might have been a factor. Maybe Ziggler is looking at life after WWE, and maybe WWE sees it that way. They see Ziggler as a guy who is mentally done, and he's looking on to the next thing after WWE, and they're just not going out of their way to utilize him right now when he could be leaving the company fairly soon when his deal is up. It really sucks because Dolph Ziggler, you look at his career in WWE, there were several times where he should have been at that next level. Right after he won the world title, he got injured, and that really was a pretty big setback for him. But then he was the survivor at Survivor Series when Sting made his debut, and WWE failed to utilize him after that. And him dressing up like HBK and doing all that stuff, that has not done him any favors, but still, the guy is extremely talented, and you think that WWE should have done more with him. He's one of those guys that the company really did not push him as strongly as he should have been pushed, perhaps. And at this point, with new guys coming in, it's looking like the sun is setting on Dolph Ziggler and WWE. I think the odds are against the company really investing in him unless he signs a new deal and is really committed to maybe changing up his look and having a better attitude. I don't know what the deal is, but right now, it's looking like Ziggler and WWE are going to be moving in different directions, and because of that, the company's just not going to do much to invest in him at this stage of the game. This one comes from Smirtaza. Hey Aaron, do you see Chad Gable going in the Cruiserweight division and defeating Neville? And he says he's a first-time asker, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this username before. So I'm not sure if you're pulling a fast one on me or not. But I will answer the question. I've seen people talk about Chad Gable possibly going to 205 Live. Similar to Enzo, maybe Chad Gable would be better utilized there. Maybe he could be the star of the division. But I've also seen a lot of fan opposition to that idea. I did post a video from a podcast on NoDQ.com about that, and it seems like a lot of people are negative on that idea. Some people see it as a kiss of death to go to the Cruiserweight division. I mean, that's how much people look down on the Cruiserweight division and consider it to be a flop when people see it as being demoted by going to the Cruiserweight division. Even though Neville has seen a career resurgence being in the Cruiserweight division, but he's pretty much the only guy that has really been elevated from the Cruiserweight division. Austin Aries was for a while, but then he didn't win the title and he parted ways with the company. I think Enzo would be a better fit than Chad Gable. I think Chad Gable has some real potential to go far on WWE television, on Raw or SmackDown. It's just a matter of developing his character and giving him an interesting storyline. And right now, he has nothing going for him. So yeah, it's easy to say, oh, just throw him in the Cruiserweight division. I think you got to do more with him first on SmackDown and see if he sinks or swims before you do something else with him, either moving him to 205 Live. And I've even heard people throw the idea out about him going to NXT. And again, I think that would be better for somebody like Enzo. With Chad Gable, I think you gotta really give him a chance before you throw him into a different part of WWE, whether it's 205 Live or NXT. This one comes from Jake. When did the WWE leave the most money on the table aside from anything involving the Invasion and Time Warner / WCW? Interesting question here. In my opinion, I would say that the biggest missed opportunity, I think there were a couple. One of them was not doing Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair in 1992 at WrestleMania. I think from Vince's perspective, doing Hogan versus Sid was a bigger marquee match, and that's why we saw that instead of Hogan versus Flair. And also you had the whole thing with the steroid scandal, and maybe if that had not happened, Hogan and Flair would have gone down at SummerSlam. But I still think it's just mind-boggling that WWE did not do that match on a pay-per-view. WCW took full advantage of that. They brought in Hogan. They booked Hogan and Flair to death. WCW did what WWE would normally do. Take a good concept, a good match, and just keep doing it over and over again until it loses all value. You know, by the year 2000, Hogan and Flair was no longer a draw. But from 94 all the way to 99, Hogan and Flair, those matches made a lot of money for WCW. I think WWE really missed out on Hogan and Flair. There's a couple other matches that you could say WWE missed the boat on. You know, Shawn Michaels versus The Rock, even though there's all this talk that the two hated each other. The Rock in particular hated Shawn Michaels. But, you know, when I've gotten this question about Rock and Shawn Michaels, my answer has always been, I think that it was just a bad opportunity, or should I say bad timing. The opportunity wasn't there to do it. I think that with The Rock going into Hollywood and Shawn Michaels coming back from his injury, it just wasn't the right timing for it to happen. I think if they were approached about doing a match and the timing was right, they're businessmen. Even if The Rock did not like Shawn Michaels, I'm not sure he would turn down a match with Michaels when it's a match that could make a lot of money. I just don't see Rock turning down a business opportunity like that. So that's my take on it. There's a couple matches, a couple other ones, you know, but they involve the whole WCW thing. For the most part, I think WWE has been good about taking advantage of opportunities and making the most of having the talent in the company and giving the fans the big dream matches, with a few exceptions, like Rock versus Shawn Michaels and Hogan versus Flair in particular. This one comes from Gareth Smith. Hey up, mate, ya think Raw needed the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and have Reigns versus Strowman in the cell to end their feud? I like your guys' funny ways of sending me questions, getting me to pronounce words in a unique way. I know Twitter is only 140 characters, so you gotta shorten some words, but whatever. To answer your question, I think that would be good if there wasn't a mandatory Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where you have to do Hell in a Cell matches. But right now, Hell in a Cell is a SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view this year, so that's out. WWE is not going to do Reigns versus Strowman in a Hell in a Cell match. As a matter of fact, for Raw on Monday, WWE is doing Reigns versus Strowman in a last man standing match, which seems to be like a blow-off for that one-on-one feud. They do have the Fatal 4-Way match at SummerSlam, but yeah, doing that kind of match, you would think that this is going to be the final match of their feud. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do that's more extreme than a last man standing match other than Hell in a Cell, which isn't going to happen. So one would think this is going to be the last one on Raw this week, and then after the Fatal 4-Way match, Reigns and Strowman are going to go in different directions. Got this one here from Marcus Hunter. Why do peeps, he's using peeps instead of people, so here we go again. Now that I bring this up, people are going to start sending me questions with all sorts of weird wording just to troll me. Why do people want the broken gimmick in WWE? Most outside stuff seems so watered down once in WWE. I think it's just because of the hope that we could potentially see something great in WWE. If the Hardys were given the creative freedom to do the broken gimmick like they want to do it, it could be some very entertaining television in WWE. But I totally get what you're saying, why you're doubtful about it being able to succeed, because historically, WWE doesn't like to push a concept that they did not create. And just because something worked in another promotion doesn't mean it's going to work in WWE, especially if WWE is not behind it 100%, and if WWE does not give these guys the opportunity to go all out with the gimmick and have that creative freedom. But some fans out there still hope that maybe, just maybe, WWE will allow the Hardys to do the broken gimmick and just go all out with it and make it the best thing possible. But you're totally in the right to not get your hopes up about it. This one comes from one of my favorites, DJ Whitey, with the NoDQ.com t-shirt as his profile pic. You can grab one at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search NoDQ. Ayo Aaron, here we go again with the wording, Ayo. Would it solidify the Miztourage as a credible faction if they won the tag team titles? I would say yes, except for the fact that Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel are not at the top of the list of guys that I would be pushing right now. I think that it's like the Jinder Mahal effect, where if they won the titles, yes, it's elevating them and it's good for them personally, but for the fans, I'm not sure if it's the best thing for business to push these guys that have been booked as enhancement talent for the past few years. All of a sudden, they're the tag team champions. I just wouldn't buy it. I think Bo Dallas is being miscast. I think he needs to be repackaged as Bray Wyatt's partner in crime, something like that. Curtis Axel, same thing. You got to repackage the guy. But basically, they're being portrayed as the Miz's stooges. So it's like J&J Security becoming the tag team champions. I mean, to me, it's the same thing. They're just bodies to take bumps for the Miz, and at least they're getting TV time. I mean, that's the good thing for them. They are getting some TV time out of this, but to put the tag titles on them, I'm not sure I would go that far. I mean, you would have a team that would be taken more seriously in that spot. Somebody and a team that is at an equal level as the Miz, like the Revival, for instance, but not the Miz's stooges. I just think it would not work. This one comes from Cheyenne. What is going on with Dolph Ziggler and the club? I did address Dolph earlier. Regarding the club, they are most likely going to be in a triple threat tag team match at SummerSlam against the Revival and the Hardys. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I think it might be a good idea for the club to get involved with Finn Balor. Have Finn Balor lose at SummerSlam to Bray Wyatt because of Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. Move Harper and Rowan back to Raw, maybe do a trade or something so it balances out the rosters, and then have the club work with Finn Balor. But yeah, it does seem like right now the club they are lost in the shuffle, and WWE is just throwing a random match together at SummerSlam with these guys, and I'm not even sure what's going on with them, if they're heels or faces or tweeners. They're talking about being the Good Brothers. Last year they were the Doctors. It just seems like Anderson and Gallows, again, are not really being utilized to the fullest extent of what they can be in WWE. They could be killers. They could be legit tough guys, but instead it just feels like one week they're taken seriously, the next week they're not. And it's really hard to know what these guys are in WWE. What are their characters? What do they do? And they're just there. And you know, I think the ball was dropped on them from the beginning. You know, I talked about this before, that they could have been brought in like Hall and Nash in WCW as outsiders, and you could have done some sort of angle like that where these two guys were taking over WWE and they were not part of the company. It's been a while since we've seen a storyline like that. I think that would have been a good way to bring them in, rather than what WWE has done with them over the past year and a half. This one comes from Andrew. Are you surprised that Vince has not asked the NXT stars to hold back during the specials as to not overshadow the main roster? I think it just goes to show the amount of influence that Triple H has at this point. Vince is focused on the main shows, Raw and SmackDown, and the main roster pay-per-views. Vince does have a hand in NXT, no doubt. He is there for all the shows. He's watching what's going on. He's supervising everything, but it's Triple H's baby, and Vince is letting Triple H do what Triple H feels is best with NXT. And it's Triple H who is having those guys go out there and have the best performances possible. But yeah, it is interesting. You would think that if anything, on the main shows that are going the night after NXT, WWE would go all out to make sure that these shows are spectacular, that they top NXT. That's how it should be. The NXT shows should be great, and SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Rumble, WrestleMania, these shows should be even greater. They should be top tier shows, the best of the best in the ring, having the best matches possible, and the conclusion of well thought out, compelling storylines over a period of several months. Do we get that? Not really. Sometimes it feels like the shows are just thrown together, and just because it's Raw and SmackDown together and you pack it in with like 6 hours, 12 matches, oh, that makes it a big show right there. No, you gotta have the really strong matches with good storylines leading up to the events, and a lot of times we don't get that, and maybe sometimes WWE tries too hard to make SummerSlam a big show. You just gotta let those guys go out there and have the best performances possible. That's what NXT does. They just have those guys go out there, have great matches, and it works. And I think fans like that because NXT keeps it fairly simple, and it doesn't hurt that NXT is only 2 to 2.5 hours. You know, sitting through a 5.5 hour show, it's going to be hard to top the shorter NXT show just for that reason alone. This one comes from Dave Lesnar. Hey Aaron, with WWE not wanting Batista and CM Punk still being under UFC, with WWE not wanting Batista and with CM Punk still being in UFC, who else can they bring back? RVD? Rey Mysterio? Here's the thing. I would not bring back those guys right now. I think you need to focus on the younger talent, focus on building new stars. There's no need to bring Rey Mysterio back. The only reason I could see it happening is if WWE is trying to build up that Hispanic audience again. But other than that, Rey Mysterio, he's getting up there, and I'm not sure he can handle the schedule in WWE. And apparently Vince turned down the idea of bringing back Mysterio because Mysterio is represented by several people, including Conan, and Vince and Conan have never gotten along. Bringing back RVD, the last time they brought him back, they did nothing with him. So there's no need to bring back RVD unless you got a really good spot for him and he can be utilized in the best way possible. So right now, I would not bring back anybody. If you're going to bring back somebody, obviously bring back CM Punk or Batista. But if those guys are happy doing other things, then it isn't meant to be right now. This one comes from Random Crazy Bro. Would you ever like the idea to see an Extreme Elimination Chamber stipulation again, but done right with more weapons? I wasn't really a fan of when TNA did the cage matches with the weapons. I just think it's overkill. You don't really need it. The Elimination Chamber sells itself. It's an interesting enough match as it is, with the two guys that start off, 4 guys in the pods, they come out. The matches are entertaining enough. You don't need any other gimmicks. I just think that that's overkill. I don't think it's necessary. So I'm not really a fan of it. I don't think you need to do that. Not really a big fan of the idea. Like I said before, if you're going to do something different with Elimination Chamber, then do a different type of match. Maybe have the women in an Elimination Chamber match. Maybe have a different title on the line. But I personally just like the idea of having the Rumble winner challenge one champion at WrestleMania, and then in February, Elimination Chamber, you have another match that determines who faces the other champion. And that's it. And just do one chamber match a year. Don't do 2. Don't have a match with weapons, and just keep it simple. Again, like I said in that previous question, don't overthink things. Just keep it simple. That'll wrap it up for episode number 994 of No DQ Video. Please keep spreading the word. Tell a friend about No DQ Video. And stay tuned. August 16th, I will be answering a lot of your questions, at least 20. I will be giving my proposed WrestleMania 34 card, and also my top 10 biggest hits and misses in WWE history. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys next time.